here's your host, Adam Banks.
The ball is tipped, and there you are. You're running for your life.
UConn has ended all debates and has solidified themselves as a blue blood program because they are once again the NCAA national champions for the 5th time. Welcome, everybody, to the March Madness series presented by Off the Cuff with Adam Banks. I, of course, am Adam Banks, and I have with me my OTC sports panel, Chad Rainwater, Jordan Conatser, and Zach Hahn. Guys, here we are for the final time of the year to do our last episode of this year's March Madness series. What a tournament it has been. I don't want to say it's been the best, but it's definitely been an interesting tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. I would say far from the best, but entertaining nonetheless.
It's been the weirdest one. I think we all kind of predicted that, though, in the Selection Sunday show. We had talked about, college basketball's been drunk this year, and that's exactly what happened, in my opinion. And, UConn steamrolls through it and beats up everybody. So,
yeah, I can't say I'm surprised. But it feels like every year that the tournament's just crazy, UConn just finds a way to somehow pull it out and did it again.
Well, I do want to say congratulations to Mr. Kevin Burns, who is the winner of the Off the Cuff with Adam Banks Bracket Challenge. He, I thought for a second he tied with Elliot Burgundy, but Zach reminded me that there was a tiebreaker that chooses between the two. If the score is close like that, how does it work?
Total score, closest to the total score, and I believe our winner actually predicted the exact total score. He had 75 to 60.
75 to 60.
It was, in reality, 76 to 59. So that's the man. I mean,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, we need to get him on here. He should take my spot because he was way closer than I was.
I did reach out, and he did not want to come on the show, but
very humble.
Yes, but he said thanks for the offer, and he's looking forward to getting his off-the-cuff tumbler. So we'll mail that to him as soon as Chad gets that ordered. But I
calling you out.
Yeah, but I finished a solid 51 out of 61 participants. Does anybody know where they finished in the pool?
All I know is I finished first out of us 4. So, I mean, I don't have much to brag about because I finished in like 29th place, but that's something. It's better than nothing, I guess.
It's good to see you back this week, Jordan. We missed you last week.
Yeah, it was. I hated to have to miss last week because I'd watched all the games and it was the fun show to talk about. I did listen and I thoroughly enjoyed it, though.
Yes, well, me and Zach were thinking that you didn't show on purpose because you both owe us $20 after that Arkansas loss to, who do we even have? Arkansas?
UConn, the
UConn
champions.
beat them.
Yeah. So I want a crisp 20 after the show.
I've got the two crisp 20s for you all, so I'm just gonna walk ashamed out the door because I've guessed nothing right this year.
Oh, we're going to dinner. We're going to dinner after this, right? Yeah. You can pay in kind.
Yeah, maybe dinner on Jordan. Chad, where did you finish up in the pool?
33rd.
33rd? And
yeah.
Zach,
I ain't mad about it.
The age of Jesus when he died. That's a good number. Zach, where did you finish in the bracket pool?
I think I finished 3rd out of us, probably like 37th or ish, something there. When you're that far down there, what does it matter?
Yeah, I was doing good until I seen myself on the second page because it's 2 pages, and I was on the bottom of the first page. And then after last night's game, I got pushed to the second page.
If it was a golf tournament, I would have been cut. So
Zachary, you finished 36th.
Yeah, okay. Well, a little bit better than I thought. But
yeah, he said ish.
Yeah, not really.
But it was fun, and I'm glad that we got to do it. It was a big challenge. It was a big bracket challenge, the biggest one yet. Hopefully next year we can get 100 in there and make it even bigger. But let's talk about the tournament ratings. I know you guys like to hear those, and the audience likes to hear what the ratings look like. Fewer viewers turned into this Final Four, but I think that it's probably because of the non-traditional teams that was in the Final Four. It says here that Saturday's NCAA men's basketball national semifinals averaged 12.34 million viewers on CBS, down 17% from last year on TBS, TNT, and True TV, but up 2% from 2021. It says through the Final Four, the men's tournament was averaging a combined 9.35 millions per window across CBS, TBS, TNT, and True TV, down 7% from last year, but up 5% from 2021. Zach, what do you owe those numbers to?
I think you hit it on the head there. It's just like you can't have random teams in there. I mean, UConn's not really random, but everybody else was. And you got to have the continuity. You got to have at least one or two programs that either have a huge fan base or are the true blue blood programs, the Duke, the Kentucky, Kansas, UCLA, somebody like that to drive the interest beyond just those teams out there. Because college basketball players, let's face it, they come and they go. And when you have random teams there, you just have a collection of really random guys.
Yeah. Yep, and most of your big fan bases are with the blue blood programs. It says here that the championship game averaged 11.2 million total viewers and a 2.7 demo rating, down just a bit from the last time CBS hosted a championship game back in 2021. I also read that it beat out every other major network last night. CBS did. I know that. Let's see. I think who has American Idol? Is it ABC?
It's Fox.
Yeah, it used to be Fox. It might have moved.
No, Fox back in the early 2000s had it, but I think ABC has it now.
Yeah, we'll go with ABC.
Yeah, so they beat ABC, and NBC had another big hit that they always have on Mondays, and basketball beat it out. So I think people are still into college basketball. I don't think there's anything to worry about. These numbers are down a little, but not so much to where we should be concerned. What's interesting is the women's basketball Final Four. It was their largest viewership in the history of that tournament, and the men's basketball tournament still beat it out, if that tells you anything. What is it that people don't like about women's basketball?
I don't know, Mr. Banks. What you tell us? I've watched women's basketball in the past. I didn't watch any of the tournament. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't watch any, but I've watched it in the past. But it feels like you're the one that just doesn't like women's basketball.
Well, we only have an hour, but I'll give you my brief rundown. One, it's boring. It's boring. I'd rather slosh paint up on the wall and watch it dry. I don't know. I just feel like that there's other things competitively that I would rather watch, and women's basketball isn't one of them. I don't think it's as intense. I don't think it's as entertaining. So that's just it in a nutshell. But yeah, does anybody else have anything of a reason why they think women's basketball just can't get the ratings? I mean, the WNBA's been around for 20, 30 years, and do they even have a steady TV schedule?
I don't think they're profitable. I think the NBA kind of props it up.
Yes, because nobody's into it. So I can't be alone in that.
I mean, it's the full-blown level of athleticism. There's a lot of things that play into why it doesn't get the ratings. And if Kentucky's in it, I'll watch the women's tournament, stuff like that, but I have no interest in otherwise. I mean, it's just it's a different ball game.
It is. And I remember when I was at Moorhead and I would go to the men's basketball games, they would always give out free T-shirts if you would go to the women's basketball games first. I mean, they would do everything to try to get people out to those women's games. But I'm not the only one. Obviously, the ratings don't lie, and even though it was the biggest viewership of all time for them, the men's basketball tournament still beat them out. But that, folks, is the ratings for this year's tournament, and we're going to get talking about the Final Four in the next segment, so stick with us. We'll be right back.
Watch out for Duke in Kentucky. When they up in the zone, they get buckets. We go hard like the Ruckus. Longest got with us, nothing above us.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. You are listening to the March Madness series, the post-championship show. I have with me my OTC sports panel, Zach Hahn and Jordan Conatser, and Chad Rainwater. Let's get to the review of the Final Four games, and we'll start with number 5 San Diego State taking on number 9 FAU, the Owls. FAU led by as many as 14 points in the second half, but San Diego State did not go away and ended up ultimately defeating San Diego State 71-70. It was a heartbreaker too to see the Owls lose the way they did.
It definitely was. I had Florida Atlantic, going back to the last week's show, I believe I had Florida Atlantic winning the Final Four and actually, bringing home this year's title. But old dude from San Diego State doesn't mind. His name is Lamonte Butler. Is that who it was?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. He let me down, but it was a great game overall. We watched that game together, and like you said, Florida Atlantic had a 14-point lead, and it looked like they were going to pull it away. But that broken play at the end, just a miracle shot. It is crazy.
Yes, and what was interesting was the coach for San Diego State, Brian Dutcher, who Zach likes so well. He actually had a different game plan at the end of the game. He wanted them to attack the basket, but Butler did an improv and just shot the shot on a whim, and it went in. And the coach just said, hey, March is for players, not coaches, and he was happy with the decision made.
Yeah, how could you not be? I mean, it wasn't the best shot, like in terms of being a smart shot, but he buried it. I mean, he wanted that shot, he took it, and it was a really exciting conclusion to what was a really just a good, solid March Madness Final Four game. I mean, you can't complain about that game. That was awesome. That's what you're looking for.
Right. And before this Elite Eight, this was the first time ever San Diego State ever made it to an Elite Eight. I'm pretty sure on that, and it's always fun to watch programs that's never been in that position to compete, trying to get further. But I think that they should be proud of themselves, what they have done. I think that FAU was really, really dominant, and they made a name for themselves in this tournament. I think more people now will know who they are because of this tournament.
Yeah, I don't think they're going away either. Today, I believe the ESPN early rankings for next season came out, and I think the FAU is like top 5.
Really?
So I'm not sure. I don't know. I've not.
How can they make that though?
Yeah,
like, they don't even know who's going to be in the transfer portal.
About 2 weeks ago, Joe Lenardi had his bracketology for next season, and he had Florida Atlantic as a 3 seed. So when the early rankings came out today, I was really shocked. It was top. It was like I can't remember the number one team was. UConn, Marquette,
probably San Diego State.
Kentucky was in there somewhere.
Who's
and then
UConn
Florida,
supposed to get back? How many of those guys are supposed to come back?
Probably everybody.
Wow.
I mean, so yeah, but I don't think they're going to go away anytime soon.
Right. All right, the next game we'll talk about is Miami taking on UConn. Of course, UConn, as dominant as they have been the whole tournament, nothing was no different there. They were very dominant against Miami. They went on a run and ended up destroying Miami at the end of the game, 72-59. Really no game there. I thought it would be better. I think the network thought it would be better. That's why they had it on last, but UConn was just dominant.
Yeah, you know what's wild about that is that's the closest anybody came to beating UConn the whole tournament.
And that's sad.
That's what we were looking at that last night. I mean, they won. They beat Iona by 24. They beat St. Mary's by 15. They beat Arkansas by 23. They beat Gonzaga by 18. What, 28?
More than that, yeah.
28. And then destroyed Miami. Like, they won. They steamrolled everybody. And I still can't name one person on that team.
28? They beat Gonzaga by 28?
54-82.
Wow. Yeah, I don't know what it is that Coach Hurley says to his players to get them playing. I think to be a great coach, I think 70% of being a great coach is getting the best out of your players, and he does it. Come March, he had them ready. I don't know how they lost 9 games in the regular season.
I guess they just went into a different gear. I don't know. But, I mean, and I don't really see anything that they just do that much differently. Like, they came out with the plan, they executed the plan, and they steamrolled everybody that they played in the month of March.
Yeah, normally when UConn or a team that's going into March Madness goes on a run, like they have that one standout player. And did UConn have that? They just played as just a well-rounded ball team the whole tournament.
Yeah, for the most part. I mean, they had 7 guys that all had a role and all contributed. Sonogo was probably their best player, but they all made great plays.
So what happens next with Dan Hurley? Does he get another coaching job, or does he stay at the blue blood known as UConn?
I think he has to stay. I mean, look what they're doing. Look what they've done over the past 24 years. Since there's a 5th title, like where else would you want to go? They might not be the best program per se for college basketball, but like I don't know where else you would go unless maybe I I don't think maybe a Duke would reach out or North Carolina if they fell through with Herbert Davis. But.
I think we've talked about it some. We talked about it quite a bit last week, but maybe the new standard for blue blood is just truly championships. Like the idea of we're going to be a 20-win team every season and be a 4-seed or better every March. And we may not win it every year, but we're just going to be consistent. Maybe that's what's going away. So maybe a place like UConn is like the best program if you're going to win championships that often.
See, I don't even know what's the definition of a blue blood. Like, how far back do we have to look? Because if we're talking blue bloods, like, yeah, I'm going to obviously include Kentucky in there because that's my team. But like, we've had one title in 24 years.
Yeah.
What makes us stand out?
Well, I would have said
opposed
it's
to
that
UConn?
consistency, but I think the definition's changing.
It has to.
If you add 3 more years on the 24 years you just said, we have 3 championships. So, I mean, we had 2 in the 90s, and then we had the 2012.
That's just an example. I'm just saying, like, I'm not hating on Kentucky or anything. That's just an example that, like, I don't know how far back we have to go for the team to be considered a blue blood.
25, 30 years probably.
Yeah, and UConn's won 5 national titles since 1999. That's impressive. But because of those wins, we now have a championship game, San Diego State taking on UConn, and we'll talk about that in our next segment, ladies and gentlemen. So stick with us. We'll be right back.
It's about to go down in a minute. Let me touch down. I'ma get it. 'Cause I been waiting all night to make it go from the friend zone to the end zone.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you, along with my OTC Sports panel, Zach Hahn, Jordan Conatser, and Chad Rainwater. You are listening to the March Madness series, the post-championship game show. We, in our last segment, talked about the Final Four, but we're now at the championship game, which was last night on CBS. It was a late one, 9:20. Everybody stayed up to watch it, of course.
Too late. Too late.
Yes. Why is it that late?
I don't know.
Go ahead.
We were trying to figure that out last night. Like, the game was it's in Central Time, so it was 1 hour. So the game started at 8:20, but like it is a Monday night.
Yeah.
Like, why can we not start this game? Either push it to Sunday or start it at like 6:30. And I sound like an old man, but
Yeah, seriously, why don't they do Friday like 6 o'clock, 8 o'clock doubleheader, and then Sunday for the championship game?
Well, I think because at least this year, I don't know how it is in the past, but this year that's the women's game. Is that Sunday? So that could be one of the reasons. But I mean, have it earlier and then the guys that night.
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's their reason, but, you know, if you're trying to maximize, is this one of those things that the NCAA pretends it's not about money?
Banks, have you looked up? Have you did any research on the past 2 years? I think it's just this year and last year that the game was pushed back to like 9:20. Have you looked into this of how like down the ratings are compared to years past?
The ratings?
Just for this past 2 years compared to the rest, because I don't think that the games prior to 2022 season where the championship game was that late. I don't ever remember them being that late.
Now, I do remember it always being late on Monday.
Not 9:20, maybe like 8, but not 9:20. I don't think.
I could be wrong, though. I just always remember it being late, and I always remember other people complaining about this every year.
I'm right there with you. It's got to the point where it's ridiculous. Like, make the game earlier. You want to get your ratings up, make it to where people can get with their friends, go out and do stuff. Like, but most people have to work Tuesday morning. Yeah. And it's a little bit hard if you got to try to go somewhere, get together, and then.
Yeah, honestly, forget the Friday, Sunday, do Thursday night doubleheader and then Saturday night game. Like, that championship game would draw some serious ratings.
Oh, yes.
That's how you get your ratings up right there.
Oh, yeah. I mean, they could make the college, I don't want to say as big as the Super Bowl. It won't be as big as the Super Bowl, but you can do a lot more with the college basketball championship than what they have. I just feel like it's wasted. I think that they could do better in advertising. They could do better in viewership.
Yeah, having it at 9:20 on a Monday, it's like an afterthought. It's like, well, the fun part of the tournament was over. Let's just finish it up here.
Yeah, it's kind of like, they're just... Because late shows nobody's watching them, nobody's listening to them, so it's like nobody cares about the championship game because it's so late. It's not prime time. What do you think would be the perfect time for the game to start for the championship?
Are we sticking with the same day? Are we talking about a Monday still, or are we talking about changing the whole schedule?
Well, let's just for now I think that the NCAA cares more about the Final Four than they do the championship game. I think that for some reason the Final Four is kind of like their mecca, is making it to that weekend, and they put more emphasis on that. That's why it is on Saturday. So let's just say they keep it the same. What time on Monday would you have it?
I mean, if you're talking that, if we have to do it on a Monday, realistically, you factor in all time zones, start the game at 8. Okay. That puts the game at 5 p.m. on West Coast or Pacific time. So it gives people time to at least get off work, try to get home, but it's not overloading the people in the Eastern time zone with, the game not ending till 11:30 midnight.
I think even 8:30 would be fine.
8:30, 8:30, not a huge difference there, but it's a big difference from 9:20. If I could do it at any time, I think I'd stick with that. I think Saturday at 8 Eastern would be a big event.
So what do you guys think about what I said? Do you think that the NCAA cares more about the Final Four than they do the championship game, or do you think not? Do you think opposite of that?
That's the way it feels like. I don't know. It may be like they're trying to drive up attendance at the game itself because it's easier to travel to somewhere if the first game's on a Saturday and the second game's on a Monday than the Thursday-Saturday scenario that I proposed. But forget the attendance. It's not about what's going on at the arena anymore. It's about TV audience. Do it on Thursday and Saturday.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there could be some revisions, and there should be some revisions. Maybe in the future. They've changed college basketball so much. Why not just change a little bit of
the NCAA hasn't changed college basketball that much. It's the change that's been forced on them. So I have no hope that they're going to fix this. But
it's been forced on them?
Oh, yeah, like NIL and the transfer portal. Like, they didn't do any of that stuff willingly. It was all lawsuits, and the NCAA doesn't change anything if they can help it.
They're literally like the slowest at doing anything to be productive about.
Yeah, maybe we can get a lawsuit to move the Final Four to Thursday and the championship to Saturday, because that's about the only way the NCAA changes anything.
Oh, yeah. Maybe somebody's will get fired because they stayed up too late, and then they'll sue, and then maybe something can happen.
We can only hope.
But let's get to the championship game. It's UConn versus San Diego State. Of course, UConn topped the tournament off with one of the most impressive runs I think I've ever seen. I mean, a 9 seed or a 4 seed going in there and dominating by double digits, and they beat San Diego State 76-59. I thought when this game first started, I was like, okay, San Diego State is going to give them a good game, better than anybody else. But after 5 minutes in, that wasn't the case. UConn dominated. But then at the end, Jordan, right when you called me during the game, San Diego State made a little bit of comeback.
But they got it back to like 6,
which was great. I think they were, before you called me, it was like a 13-point lead, and then cut it within 6.
It was, it was close. They kept it between 10 and 20 like the whole game. I mean, that was one of the most boring games I've ever seen. Like you said, beginning of the game, started out, it's like, all right, this is going to be a really good game. 5 minutes in, UConn just takes off out of nowhere. And then at the end of the game, UConn finished it off. San Diego State tried to get it close. They got it to, 6 points, 4.6 points, and then UConn just pedaled to the middle.
Hit that big 3. Mm-hmm. That was kind of the dagger. UConn was just better. They were just clearly better in that one.
Yes. Adam Sanogo had 17 points and 10 rebounds, and Tristan Newton also had a double-double with 19 points and 10 boards for the Huskies. Pretty good stats there. It's I tell you, the Huskies, they finished their season 31-8, and I think I've said this before. How did they lose 8 times? How? I just think that they were too good.
I don't know. Maybe they had some injuries or something.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I didn't really keep up with UConn throughout the season, but at one point they did make a pretty big jump up into the AP poll, and I think they fell out shortly after that. Did they win their conference tournament?
No,
they didn't.
Marquette did.
Oh, that's right.
Oh, there's one loss.
Right. Yeah. So I'm not sure. I mean, injuries would be my guess, or maybe it's just about clicking and having your guys prepared for a late run, and maybe that's something that Bobby Hurley. It is Bobby, right?
Dan. Bobby's his brother.
I didn't mean to cuss.
Nobody would have knew if you would have.
Well, guess we got to restart the the episode.
No, the fun fact about Connecticut, real quick, since you guys have already touched on the game, I just want to run through a couple things. UConn's the first school to win multiple national championships as a 4-seed or lower, as well as they're the first school to win 3 national titles with at least 6 losses. So that's pretty neat.
The committee in retrospect, they were better than a 4 seed.
Oh my goodness, yes. The
Yeah.
seeding was very poorly. Obviously, look at the Final Four. All these seeded teams were it was so out of whack.
Well, there was some crazy results. I mean, but UConn didn't feel like that at all, and you could have made a case for them at the time to be like a 2 or 3 at least.
Did you say this stat already, Chad? Did you read this off? Because I found this interesting. The Huskies, since the bracket expanded in 1985, they are the 5th team to win all 6 NCAA tournament games by double digits.
No, I did not. No, I didn't know that.
Yes.
Yeah, I saw that. I mean, that like you said, it's one of the most impressive runs to the championship I've ever seen. They had complete dominance throughout the entire tournament.
Yeah, I don't think one time they almost lost. I mean, they were just killing it. UConn, unbelievable. 5th title since 1999. I think the debate is over. If you ever debated if they were a blue blood, they are. The question is now, the debate is are they a top 5?
I still don't think they're a top 5. I think your top 5 is going to consist of Kentucky, Duke, North Carolina, Kansas, UCLA, ultimately. I mean, the championships are still there for like all of those teams have more championships.
No, not necessarily. Kansas has 4. UConn has 5.
That is true. All right. Well, Kansas is just more prominent. Kansas is there every year.
More Final Fours.
Kansas is where basketball started. So,
Yes.
I mean, it's got to be there.
Right. And now I would probably still put, I don't know. See, Indiana's got 5. And I always feel like championships will trump the any other kind of accomplishment. So maybe you could put Indiana in the top 5 and UConn 6. Kansas, that would put Kansas 7.
I mean, you got to put Villanova in there too. So with the run they've had the past 25 years, I mean, we talk about UConn's run, but Villanova they've had with Jay Wright. What did they win? 3?
Did they win just 2?
Yeah, they won 3. They won 3. Yeah.
And that was in a 20-year span. I mean, between Villanova and UConn, that's been that solidified them as blue bloods in the past 25 years, in my opinion.
Yes. I'm pretty sure they've won 3. Is it 2?
It was 2018 and 2000 and what was the other year they won? 16? 16 and 18.
I don't think Jay Wright's the only guy to win a title there, though.
Oh, I thought we were talking about recently.
I mean, I don't know.
Because they haven't won one since.
Well, recently, probably, yeah, just 2.
Yeah, I think Jay Wright just won the 2 there.
But as far as San Diego State goes in this game, Kashad Johnson had 14 points, and believe it or not, that was their best player for that game with just 14.
I can believe it. They got shut down.
San Diego State looked silly the whole game. I mean, they were taking, if their threes weren't going in, they would have lost by 30. In the first half, they were getting some just kind of open threes to go in, but kind of guarded, like nothing crazy, but they looked like a Kentucky basketball team out there, lost, confused, had no game plan.
Well, it looked like they were trying to draw fouls, and the refs were really just not calling anything both ways. I mean, it wasn't unfair. It was just they were letting them play.
Now that UConn's got 5, I feel like a lot of people skipped over them in the conversation as being one of the greats. Why is that? Is it just because they're kind of... Why do they go off the radar so much, you think?
I think because
They just disappear for a couple of years.
Yeah, in the last 24 seasons since they won in 1999, I think 9 of those seasons they didn't make it to the tournament.
You're correct.
So I think that has a little bit to do with it.
Yeah, they do well, and then they go away for 10 years, and then come back, win, go away for 10 years.
Yeah, it's like all or nothing for them.
That's why it might be hard to put them in the top 5. Relevancy, well, I don't know. They are kind of relevant. 5 titles in the last 24 years.
It's I mean, they're relevant, but it's literally if it's either all or nothing, and that's what kills me about UConn. It's like the stat they missed the tournament in the past 25 years 9 times, but it's like if they make it to the Sweet 16, just go ahead and sign them up because they're going to win it.
Did anybody stay on the channel and watch the trophy celebration?
I did. I always have to do that. And one shining moment.
Right.
It doesn't matter what kind of season it is, if who wins a championship. And I know you're against this, but I still have to watch one shining moment because it just gives me chills.
I'm not against it.
I thought you said you didn't like seeing other teams celebrate.
Nah, I don't. But like I said, I don't mind UConn. I don't mind the Huskies,
Okay.
and I also did. I have to watch one shining moment. It's a great tradition. You seen Bobby Hurley there supporting his brother. He was in tears. He says, I knew he was good. But I'm just glad the world now knows he's this good. And that's just a basketball family because his dad played, his dad coached as well, the Hurley's dad. Bobby Hurley played at Duke. He was the Christian Laettner's point guard and won 2 championships himself and 2 Final Fours other than that. But yes, I have to stay and watch the one shining moment and at least. And
it's pretty sad that I was just seeing how many times Kentucky, because I usually put the good schools in there multiple times. And I believe Kentucky was only on there one time, and it was just Oscar.
They just keep playing Christian Laettner hitting shots is all they need to do. That's what March Madness really is anyways.
Oh, my gosh. Well, congratulations to the UConn Huskies on their 5th national title. But that, folks, wraps up the NCAA men's basketball tournament. That's unbelievable. I can't believe after all of this madness, UConn was the one to win it, especially when I had them losing in the first round to Rick Pitino's Iona. But, hey, what do I know? I only finished 51 in the bracket.
That's a little exciting subplot there. Isn't St. John's in the same conference as them?
Ooh.
You can see Rick Pitino versus UConn a bunch here coming up. That'll be St. John's will beat them eventually.
Oh, yeah. Rick Pitino's, he's coming after that. He's coming for revenge. But, folks, we got an interesting segment coming up, and this will be our last segment of this year's March Madness series, so stick with us. We'll be right back.
Hit the quad, hit the quad, hit the quad, hit the quad. I said get down low and swing your arm. I said get down low and hit the quad. I'm finna show you how to.
Welcome back, everybody, to Off the Cuff. Adam Banks here with you. This is the March Madness Series post-championship show, and I have with me my OTC sports panel, Zach Hahn, Jordan Conatser, and Chad Rainwater.
I just got to give you a shout-out. I don't remember how this came up in conversation, but I appreciate that it's the final song on the that you hadn't heard of it.
Yeah, what is the story behind this?
Me and Zach were just talking last night, and somehow this came up.
I think Banks, did you say somebody's name was Quan or something like that?
I don't know. You said that. I don't know how this song come up. You said to play Hit the Quan, and I had never heard of it.
Well,
and I said I had to listen to it, and then when I listened to it, I was like, oh, yeah.
It's a classic, really one of the great hits of all time.
What is this, in 2008?
Roughly,
yeah.
Oh, well, I should know this. I mean, 2008, I was in my party phase then. I mean, I was at Morehead State doing
Must not have been, or you would have hit the Quan.
I feel like I was. So, can you hit it for us right now?
Nope.
Does anybody know how to do it?
Absolutely not.
I'm sure Chad does. He's the only lit one in the group, so.
This is right before Do the John Wall.
All right, here's your moment, Chad.
Chick is hot, but I know this chick crazy.
Yeah.
If I think she not, then
Killing it.
makes me crazy. We are both, so we are both crazy. Always on my agenda.
Not today, boys.
All right, so we all know that success in the NCAA men's basketball tournament is the most efficient way for a college basketball player or a coach to make a name for himself. It's the measuring stick in trying to figure out where a coach should go, how successful they are, how respected they are. And the same thing goes for players. But I really want to focus on the coaches because I think we all can agree there's something just fascinating about college basketball coaches. I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's just, well, you can't say it's their suits because
They're like walking memes.
They are. Explain what you mean by that.
I mean, it's just like during a college basketball game, if you look over there at a coach, I mean, they all have their own, for the most part, like distinctive styles, and they're just, it's like they are completely oblivious to the fact that there's millions of people watching, that there's like 20,000 people there. That they're just, it's entertaining for the same reason that like WWE is, because the emotions are just completely out of control, and the whole thing is kind of ridiculous. Like they're playing a game.
Yes. Well, ESPN released a poll or released an article where they named their best coaches in March Madness history. And I have the list here. It's a list of 7. Why it wasn't 10, I don't know. But they had 7 on this list. And I'm going to go over the list, and I would just like to get feedback from the OTC Sports panel. Of course, the number one coach in college basketball, they're saying, in the tournament is none other than John Wooden, who has 10 national titles and 47 total wins. That's no shocker there.
Yeah, man. If it's about championships, you got to put John Wooden on there. But I don't know anything. I don't.
I enjoy watching him coach.
Yeah. Did you
I enjoyed it.
growing up? You like John Wooden?
Well, that's the thing. I have to agree with you, Zach. It's hard to agree, or it's hard to say, yeah, he's the best when you've never physically seen him with your own eyes. I mean, I don't even think I've watched YouTube videos of him
No,
coaching.
he's about in the same like category for me as like Abraham Lincoln. Like, I mean, I guess he was good, but it's a little bit before my time.
Right.
Yeah, I don't really know anything about him other than I think it's pretty good that he won 10 titles out of 12 times going to the Final Four, so that's pretty impressive to me, but that's all I know about him.
Who did he have to win all those titles? Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
I mean,
yes.
more than just that,
I mean,
though.
well, I mean, yeah.
Russell Westbrook, Kevin Love. No, I'm just kidding.
Johnny Juzang?
How old is John Wooden? He's got to be 110. He was
still
old.
alive?
I don't know.
No, he's
I was gonna say
he's passed. He's passed. He was a old man. He was a small man in stature, not in business, but he was very successful. Okay, so John Wooden is obviously their number one. Number two on their list was Coach Mike Krzyzewski with 101 wins in the tournament and 5 national titles. I like this pick. I personally think this is my number one pick of coaches in the NCAA tournament because he's the greatest college basketball coach of all time. I think that in the modern era, basketball is different, and he coached the best in the modern era. The three-point line was put in place. The rules have changed. More teams were added to the season, to the tournament. Coach K's got my pick as number one. What do you guys think?
I'm honestly probably going to go with you and say I would say Coach Krzyzewski is probably the best coach to ever coach college basketball just because more of the relevance of Duke, the academic standards higher than UCLA, the campus is, it's going to be a smaller. Cameron Indoor, like, what does it seat, 4,000? Like, to be able to get a kid to come there and play ball doing something like that whenever they could come to Rupp Arena and play in front of 25,000 people, So for him to hold the relevance for, 40 years at that school is very impressive. He made Duke arguably the best program in college basketball, as much as I hate to say that, but it is true. So I would say Coach K is my number one as well with you.
Yes, and he took a program, Duke, that enjoyed mediocrity. Mediocrity. How do you say that?
Mediocrity.
Yes. They didn't enjoy. They enjoyed modest postseason success, I should say. And he took a program that didn't have to be a basketball school and made it one of the best basketball schools of all time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the only thing I was thinking of here is I knew Coach K was going to come up on this list, and I thought, well, I think it's as much about the consistency and just how consistently they were ranked in regular seasons. Like, I felt like that was in his I don't even know how many wins he has regular season. It was over 1,000 or something crazy like that.
Yeah, it's got to be. And then the relevancy of
But 101 tournament wins, you can't argue with that though. Like, I guess I'm putting too much emphasis on the few times that they got upset, but 101 tournament wins, they didn't get upset that often.
Right, not that often.
I mean, not only was he a great, college coach, but he also won gold medals at the Olympics as well. So
yes, oh yes, there's no denying. I mean, and anybody that wants to say John Wooden, I get your argument because he's got more titles, and I know I said a few minutes ago that there's no accomplishment like a championship, but different era, different time. Okay, number 3 on their list was Roy Williams with 77 tournament wins and 3 national titles. I like Roy Williams just because of his his journey, his career as a coach. I mean, he was an assistant under the legendary Dean Smith. He got to be the assistant coach for Michael Jordan. He won a ton at Kansas. He won a ton at North Carolina. Never won a championship at Kansas, but took him to several Final Fours. And it says here that he guided the Jayhawks to 4 Final Four appearances within 15 years. And they totaled 34 wins during 14 trips to the NCAA tournament, largely because KU never lost in the first round of March Madness. So not only did he have success there, but he had a remarkable streak continue at UNC. And it was sad to see him go when he did. Was his last year?
Year before that.
Yeah. So he was number 3 on the list.
Nah, I mean, you could argue that one with a lot. I mean, I think that's when you start getting into the Bill Selfs, Tom Izzo's, Rick Pitino category. I like Roy Williams. You say blue blood. He was a blue blood. He's one of the most known coaches in college basketball. But I'm not putting him at number 3 on my list. I'm keeping him top 5 to 7, but not number 3.
Yeah, I'm looking at his list as well. Mine's from Bleacher Report. And the number 3 on mine is Bobby Knight. I don't know if he made your list over there, but they have Bobby Knight number 3 on mine.
He did. Bobby Knight's made the list, but we're not there yet. So that's Roy.
Yeah, Roy Williams is a likable guy. I think, like I was talking about coaches being a walking meme, I think more so than the first two. Roy Williams embodied that sometimes. He was like if your grandpa coached basketball there at the end, at least for me.
I loved it when he danced when he would win in the locker room.
Yeah. He wore a lot of sweaters too, didn't he?
Yeah. He either looked like he was a basketball coach or he was about to sit front row at a North Carolina basketball game.
Yeah. College basketball was better with Roy Williams in it for sure. But I kind of agree with these guys. He could be anywhere from 3 to 7.
Number 4 on this list was Dean Smith with 65 wins and 2 national titles. He was the coach who coached Michael Jordan to a championship. I think that Dean Smith, he gets a lot of credit. I don't want to say he's underrated because he's 100% not. Some people might say overrated because he's talked about so much. But certainly a good coach. The one thing I liked about Dean Smith was how the relationship that he had with his players. I know that before he passed, he left all of his players that ever played for him $50, or it was either $50 or $100 in his will, and he said, "Have dinner on me, love Coach." I mean, he sent it to people like Michael Jordan, who could, worth billions, but he still sent that, and I just thought that was awesome.
Yeah, that's a nice touch for sure. I will say one thing, not to kind of bring it down, because now I feel like I can't say anything bad about Dean Smith. You made him out to be like a saint, but have you ever seen that? I think it's the championship that Jordan won, 83, 82, something like that?
I have not watched the full game. I've seen highlights.
Georgetown gives it away.
Yeah.
They somebody on Georgetown literally just passes the ball to North Carolina like they were on their own team. It's not an impressive way to win a game.
Right. Well, arguably, Dean Smith orchestrated UNC's rise to prominence.
Yeah. I mean, he made them kind of what they are today.
All right. Next on the list is, you guys have heard of this gentleman, Adolph Rupp. Controversial person to make the list. I know that some people said that he was a racist. I read a little bit about Adolph Rupp, and I don't know the entire history on that. Did he ever have a black player on his teams?
Yes, he did.
Okay, so why does people say that he was a racist if he had...
It was the era of Southern basketball, and I mean, it's terrible, and I'm glad we are where we are today, and basketball's been integrated. But it also, I mean, it's not just Kentucky that had the name. It was a lot of the schools in the South. I mean, the Glory Road movie, I'm at this point, if you've not seen it, you need to watch it. It's a great movie, and it's honestly, Kentucky's the villain, and Kentucky's the bad guy.
Yeah.
But Adolph Rupp, he's another one of those guys that I enjoyed watching him coach. He's the Dean Smith, and he's the Krzyzewski for Kentucky. He brought us to prominence, and that's I see him on the list. I mean, but he's another one of the coaches. He's like a John Wooden style that he won every year in the 50s. He won in the 60s, and it's like basketball has evolved so much that Adolph Rupp wouldn't win the day, of course, but basketball's evolved so much, and I mean, you have to keep him in the list. It's just like you have to bring UConn into the list of Blue Bloods. It happened. He's got the championships, he's got the titles, and he had Kentucky as the most prominent school.
Really? I mean, this list seems to be the coaches that made the Blue Blood programs who they are.
Right.
Kind of stuttered there, but I mean, what? Wooden, UCLA.
Adolph Rupp,
Kentucky, Coach K, Duke,
Dean Smith,
North Carolina, and then kind of Roy Williams contributed to Kansas and North Carolina being there today.
Right. And then Bobby Knight, who we haven't gone over yet with Indiana. So, yeah, legendary coaches, they became legendary coaching and making these programs, blue blood programs. Adolph Rupp won 4 championships during March Madness. Now, keep in mind, March Madness included no greater than a 25-team field in his tenure at Kentucky from 1930 to 1972.
It's so boring.
Yeah. Yes. Next on the list is Jim Calhoun, former UConn coach. He won 3 national titles and a total of 49 wins. Connecticut, they became a blue blood under UConn. He helped establish and kind of branded them as a blue blood, and definitely a legendary coach. I think much forgotten by a lot of people. And I say that because you never hear him mentioned as much as you do other legendary coaches.
I think Jim Calhoun just always seems so mean to me, as a coach. I don't think he would be as successful as he was if he was starting now, because he just was intense.
I never liked Calhoun. I never liked
either.
his attitude. I never liked anything he had, and I'm gonna have to draw my line because this is crazy. Because I'm taking so many. I'm taking Bill Self over him. I'm taking Tom Izzo over him. I'm taking Bobby Knight over him. He did make UConn relevant, but there's other people that did it for a lot longer than Calhoun did, and I just don't like Calhoun. So that's probably best to chat.
Who did you say you take over? Bobby Knight?
I'm taking Bobby Knight. I'm taking Tom Izzo. I'm taking Bill Self.
You know, he's probably not on this list. If he'd have just stayed in college basketball longer, Billy Donovan.
Oh, my gosh.
Yeah, absolutely,
I agree. He was on his way of being the great coach of college basketball. I mean, he could have rivaled up there with Coach K as being one of the greats. He had... Because when you look at Florida's history, Billy Donovan, man, because to be a legendary coach, you got to make a program, or one way to do it is to make a program that's not a blue blood into a blue blood. And he was on his way of doing that for Florida. Florida as a program, I think, has 3 or 4 or 5 Final Fours under Billy Donovan, or 6, 2 national championships
Back-to-back, yeah.
under him. Yes, a lot of tournament wins. Absolutely, that's a good one. Billy Donovan, if he would have just stayed. He just did not like coaching college, and that shocks me. I thought he did, but he said he was too much of a basketball junkie to not coach during the offseason because they won't let you talk to players and stuff. So I just hate that. It sucks when your passion don't align with what you're good at.
Well, basketball's changed. College basketball's changed a lot since Billy Donovan's been in college, but I'm really hoping that he's definitely my top pick probably for the John Calipari replacement after next year, because I think Cal's done next year.
Well, I would like to see that too. I hope that he maybe considers it. UK is a very shiny thing to sell, so maybe it could happen. But Jim Calhoun, even though he didn't get credit for that 2014 title that Kevin Ollie won, a lot of the key players on that team was brought in by Jim Calhoun. So you can't look over him. And then finally, the last person on this list is Mr. Bobby Knight with 45 wins, 3 national titles. He coached at Indiana, started his coaching career at Army. Definitely one of the most colorful guys in college basketball.
Yeah, you want to talk about a walking meme. I mean, have you seen the chair tossing video? No, I don't think that was March Madness, but still, it's ridiculous.
Very hateful. I think he choked a player. They did a whole 30 for 30 on it. Yeah. He's a big old radio guy now. Oh, my gosh.
It's like Bobby Knight.
Dan Dockage.
Bobby Knight gets on TV and does these games, and he is so awful to listen to.
I don't think he's done that.
Yeah, he's done it in a while, but he was so out of it when he did.
Now.
Yeah.
I
didn't like him as a commentator.
Was he the one it was commentating one of our games who didn't know what the shot clock was?
Maybe. That's why he's not commentating anymore. But.
And he would fall asleep, too. They say he would fall asleep during games. He's so old. And they fired him eventually at Indiana. Nobody ever thought they would, but my goodness, when you choke a player, talk to the players like you did, you're going to get fired, especially if he hadn't have been fired then, he would have been fired today.
I mean, Bobby Knight did a lot for college basketball. He was a good coach, and it's hard to take away. I don't want to take away any of his achievements, but like I said, Roy Williams, like college basketball was worse without him. I don't know. I feel like college basketball's almost better without Bobby Knight, really.
Well, he is the only coach to have a 38-0 season with a national championship.
Yeah, that's impressive. You can't take that away. I guess he was a villain for us too. Maybe that's some UK bias.
Because when he was winning all those, we were not winning. It was Indiana and Louisville kind of dominating the 80s, and Kentucky didn't get back to prominence till Rick Pitino, which, if I was making my own list, I would put Rick Pitino on there. Okay, finally, really quick, who didn't make the list that you would like to see on it, but you only get to choose one? I'm going to start with Zach.
I already gave mine. Billy Donovan would be on there. I think he did a lot. It was 4 Final Fours. I looked it up. He did a lot in a little amount of time. If he'd have stayed, he would definitely be on there.
Tom Izzo. Tom Izzo has done nothing but the most promising things at Michigan State. I mean, now he's the longest tenured head coach in the NCAA, and his entire career, I mean, he's Michigan State. If you've played Michigan State in the entirety of our childhood, I'm 32, so the entirety of my life, he's been the coach, and he's just won. He's made it, he's won, and they're always that hot team in the NCAA tournament.
Chad?
Am I mistaken? Do we have Rick Pitino on that list?
Rick Pitino's not on this list. Is that who you pick?
Well, no, I was going to say, if I had to choose one, it was probably going to be John Calipari. I think I'm just kidding.
I was like,
no,
what?
I was going to keep on going. But no, Rick Pitino probably for sure would make the list for me.
Oh, man.
Did I get your hopes up?
No, I was going to take Billy Donovan. And then I was going to say Rick Pitino. So I was hoping we could all throw out different coaches.
There's another one on here that I saw that kind of Denny Crum. He had 2 national titles.
Mark Few, if Mark Few could have a championship.
Yeah.
You can't put Mark Few on there, though.
I like
Lute
that.
Olson from Arizona's probably got a really impressive resume.
I tell you what, I like that. I'm going to go Denny Crum, 2 championships. I met Denny Crum at a Louisville Morehead State basketball game. Nice guy, so I have no problems with him.
6 Final Fours, 43 43 games won in the national in the tournament. So
yeah, see, great addition to
Jim
this
Boeheim?
list. There you go.
he was another one. He was on my list as well. So
Yes. Of course, there's a lot of legendary coaches that we could put on here, but we don't have time at this point in time. But that, folks, is ESPN's greatest college basketball coaches in March Madness history. And believe it or not, folks, that wraps up the 2023 March Madness series. I would like to go around the horn one more time and just say our goodbyes. And Chad, we'll start with you.
Well, another season's come and gone. It was great to be in the studio for the second straight year. I can't wait to be back in here next season. Hopefully we'll have hopefully one day we're gonna be able to come in here and finally have a good season with Kentucky and make a run. And I mean these shows are already fun enough, but it'd be even more fun if we had a team to cheers for.
Amen.
I love being here every year. I'm thankful to be invited back every year. I guess I haven't done anything too bad yet, so because I keep getting the invites. So I can't wait till next year. Like Chad said, hopefully next year can be a Kentucky year. We've never had that opportunity since we've been doing this to just have that Kentucky national championship run, and we can just sit here and heck, we could extend the show to 2 hours then.
Well, love having you here, Jordan. And Zach?
Echo everything these guys said. It's always a pleasure to be here. Hoping for a good year for the Cats for a change. It's been a while. But thanks to the listeners. It was a great bracket challenge this year. Hopefully we can get it to 100, like you said, next year. And always enjoy it. Can't wait for next March.
Absolutely. And next year will be our 10th year doing this. Hard to believe.
That's crazy.
Do we get a gift?
Stay tuned.
Oh.
So stay tuned, folks. Well, ladies and gentlemen, thank you once again for tuning in to the 2023 March Madness Series. That is Zach Hahn, Jordan Conatser, Chad Rainwater. I'm Adam Banks, and this is Off the Cuff. We'll see you next year at the Selection Sunday Show.